The phone call came 3 days before Thanksgiving. My mother's voice sounded strained, like she was forcing herself to say something she had rehearsed. She told me not to come to the family dinner this year. When I asked why, she explained that my younger sister Cassidy wanted her new boyfriend to make a good first impression, and she thought having me there would make her look bad. I sat there, stunned into silence, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. My mother added that Cassidy was finally dating someone successful, and they could not risk him being embarrassed. I hung up without another word. I stood in my apartment for what felt like hours after that call ended, staring at the wall above my television without really seeing it. The silence felt oppressive, pressing down on me from all sides. I kept replaying my mother's words in my head, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Had my own family really just uninvited me from Thanksgiving because I was an embarrassment? My name is Darwin. I am 32 years old, and I teach American history at Lincoln High School in Portland, Oregon. I make $48,000 a year, which is enough to live on, but certainly nothing impressive by modern standards. I drive a 12-year-old Toyota Camry with a dent in the rear bumper from when I backed into a pole 2 years ago. My apartment is a modest one-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood, furnished mostly with second-hand items and books. I dress in simple clothes, button-down shirts and khakis mostly, because that is what feels comfortable and appropriate for my job. My younger sister Cassidy is 28. She works as a marketing coordinator at a tech startup downtown, always posting on social media about her glamorous life. Her Instagram feed is a carefully curated collection of artfully photographed brunches, rooftop parties, and posed shots in designer outfits. She dates men with impressive job titles and expensive cars. Everything about Cassidy's life is about image, about appearing successful and enviable. Our parents, Robert and Linda, have always favored Cassidy. I understood that even as a kid. She was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. When she got average grades, they called her creative and free-spirited. When I got average grades, they called me lazy and unfocused. When she chose marketing, they said she was pursuing her passion. When I chose teaching, they said I was settling for less than I was capable of. But it had gotten worse in recent years. I texted her about what happened, and she called me immediately, furious on my behalf. She offered to skip her family dinner and spend Thanksgiving with me instead, but I told her not to. There was no point in both of us having a ruined holiday. I considered calling my parents back, maybe trying to talk through this rationally, but every time I picked up my phone, a wave of hurt and anger stopped me. What could I possibly say? They had made their choice clear. I was the embarrassment, the one who did not fit the image Cassidy wanted to project. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and gray. I woke up late, around 9 o'clock, and made myself coffee. I had bought a small turkey breast earlier in the week, thinking maybe I would cook something nice just for myself. But now the idea of cooking a Thanksgiving meal alone in my quiet apartment felt pathetic, so I left the turkey in the refrigerator and ate cereal instead. At 10:30, my doorbell rang. Not a polite single ring, but an aggressive series of buzzes that made me spill coffee on my shirt. I set down my mug and walked to the door, confused about who would be visiting me on Thanksgiving morning. I opened the door and found my mother, father, and Cassidy standing in the hallway. All three of them looked furious. My mother's face was red and blotchy, like she had been crying. My father's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles working. Cassidy's eyes were puffy and swollen. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. Before I could say anything, my mother started yelling. She demanded to know what I had done, how I could be so cruel, how I had ruined everything. Cassidy was crying angry tears, her hands balled into fists at her sides. My father just stared at me with a look of disgust I had never seen directed at me before. I stood there in my coffee-stained shirt, completely confused. What were they talking about? I had not done anything. I had been sitting in my apartment for 2 days, alone, trying to accept that my family did not want me around. Cassidy pushed past me into my apartment without waiting for an invitation. My parents followed, and suddenly my small living room felt suffocatingly crowded. All 3 of them were talking at once, their voices overlapping in a chaotic storm of accusations. My sister turned to face me, her voice shaking with rage. She screamed that I had contacted her boyfriend Nathan and told him terrible lies about our family. She said I had deliberately sabotaged her relationship out of spite and jealousy. I felt like I had stepped into an alternate reality. Nathan? I had never met anyone named Nathan. I did not even know Cassidy's boyfriend's name until that moment. How could I have contacted someone I had never met? My mother grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in hard enough to hurt. She said I was a vindictive, jealous person who could not stand to see Cassidy happy. My father stood by the door with his arms crossed, shaking his head like he could not believe what I had become. I tried to speak, to defend myself, but Cassidy cut me off. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands and shoved it in my face. On the screen were screenshots of Instagram, direct messages. The account name at the top read Darwin_teaches_history. That was my Instagram handle. I used it to share history facts and connect with former students who had graduated. But these messages were nothing I had ever written. The text claimed that Cassidy had a serious drug problem, that our family was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, that our father had had an affair with a coworker that nearly destroyed the marriage. The messages went on, each one more damaging than the last. They painted our family as dysfunctional, dishonest, and unstable. I felt my stomach drop. Someone had impersonated me. Someone had created fake messages and sent them to this Nathan person, pretending to be me. I looked up from the phone, my voice finally finding strength. I told them I never sent those messages. I said someone must have created a fake account to frame me. This was not me. I would never do something like this. My mother laughed, but it was a bitter, hollow sound. She said I had always been jealous of Cassidy's success, and now here was the proof. My father added that I had finally shown my true colors. I pulled out my own phone, my hands shaking now too. I opened Instagram and logged into my account, showing them that my real account looked nothing like the screenshots. My account had 243 posts, mostly history content and photos from school events. I had over 1,000 followers, mostly current and former students, but my parents barely glanced at my screen. They did not want to see evidence that contradicted their narrative. Cassidy's voice dropped to something colder, more controlled. She told me what had happened at Thanksgiving dinner. Nathan had been sitting next to her at the table, surrounded by our extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone had gathered for the meal. Everything had been going perfectly until Nathan checked his phone and went pale. He excused himself from the table, and Cassidy followed him outside. That is when Nathan showed her the messages. He said he could not be with someone from such a dysfunctional, dishonest family. He said he had been having doubts about their relationship anyway, and these messages confirmed he was making a mistake. Then he left, just walked to his car and drove away, leaving Cassidy standing in the driveway while 20 family members watched through the dining room window. My sister described the humiliation in painful detail, how everyone asked what happened, how she had to explain that her boyfriend had just broken up with her at Thanksgiving dinner, how our Aunt Patricia kept saying what a shame it was, and our cousin Jordan tried to comfort her but only made it worse. I felt a wave of sympathy for Cassidy despite everything. That must have been horrible, but I also felt a surge of frustration. Why were they so convinced I had done this? I tried again to explain that anyone could make a fake Instagram account. I told them to look at the account more carefully, to see that it was obviously not real, but they would not listen. My father finally spoke, his voice low and measured. He said that I had always resented Cassidy's accomplishments, that I had chosen a dead-end career and now wanted to drag her down to my level. He said they had tried to be supportive of my choices, but this was unforgivable. The words cut deeper than any physical blow could have. My own father thought my career as a teacher was a dead-end job. My own parents believed I was capable of this kind of cruelty. Cassidy turned back to her phone, pulling up the fake account again. She made me look more closely at the profile. The account had 3 photos, all blurry and generic. They could have been taken anywhere, by anyone. The account followed only one person, Nathan Caldwell. That name felt important somehow, but I could not focus on it with my family screaming at me. Then I had an idea. I opened Instagram on my own phone and typed in my handle, Darwin_teaches_history. The search results showed 2 accounts with that exact name. My real account with the small circular profile photo of me at the Grand Canyon, and below it, another account with the same name but a generic gray avatar. I held up my phone, my hand shaking. I showed them the search results. Proof that there were 2 accounts. Proof that someone had impersonated me. For just a moment, I saw doubt flicker across my mother's face. She looked at the screen, then back at Cassidy, then at my father. But Cassidy's expression hardened. She said I probably made the fake account myself to have an alibi. She said this was exactly the kind of manipulative behavior she would expect from someone jealous and bitter. My mother's moment of doubt evaporated. She nodded, agreeing with Cassidy. She said I had always been clever, and creating a fake account to cover my tracks was something I would think of. I could not believe what I was hearing. No matter what evidence I showed them, they had already decided I was guilty. They had built a narrative in their minds, and nothing I said would change it. My father moved toward the door. He said they were ashamed to call me their son. He said they needed time apart, that maybe someday I would be mature enough to admit what I had done and apologize. My mother followed him, not looking at me. Cassidy lingered for a moment, her eyes red and angry. She told me she hoped I was happy now, that I had gotten what I wanted. Then she left too, slamming my apartment door so hard the walls shook. I stood alone in my living room, the silence somehow louder than all their shouting had been. My coffee had gone cold on the table. Through the window, I could see gray clouds moving across the sky. I sat on my couch for several hours after they left, staring at nothing. My mind felt blank, like I could not process what had just happened. My own family believed I was capable of destroying my sister's relationship out of spite. They had looked at evidence that someone impersonated me and decided I must have created that evidence myself. Around 6 o'clock that evening, my phone rang. Emily's name appeared on the screen. I answered, and before I could say anything, she asked how my day was going. Her voice was warm and concerned, and something about that kindness broke through the numbness I had been feeling. I told her everything. The words spilled out in a rush. My family showing up, the accusations, the fake Instagram account, the messages to Nathan, Cassidy's humiliation at Thanksgiving dinner. Emily listened without interrupting, and when I finished, I heard her take a deep breath. She said 4 words that meant more than anything else that day. I believe you. Emily was furious on my behalf. She asked what I was going to do, whether I planned to just accept this or fight back. The question caught me off guard. I had not thought beyond the immediate shock and hurt. Fighting back implied there was something I could do, some way to prove my innocence. Emily suggested I document everything, take screenshots of both accounts, write down a timeline of events, save any evidence I could find. She said if this situation escalated, I might need a lawyer. The word lawyer made everything feel suddenly more serious, more real. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and started working. I took screenshots of the fake Instagram account before whoever created it could delete it. I captured images of my own account for comparison. I started a document with a detailed timeline. When my mother called to uninvite me, when the fake account was created, when the messages were sent to Nathan, when my family confronted me. As I worked, something struck me about the timing. The fake account had been created 4 days ago. I checked the date against my phone records. 4 days ago was the exact same day my mother called to uninvite me from Thanksgiving. That could not be a coincidence. Someone knew I had been uninvited and used that knowledge to frame me. Someone wanted me to look like I had lashed out in anger after being rejected by my family. But who? I tried to think of anyone who might have a grudge against me. Any students who failed my class and blamed me? Any parents who disagreed with my grading? Any conflicts with colleagues at school? Nothing came to mind. I had a good relationship with my students. I was fair in my grading and always available for extra help. My colleagues at Lincoln High were friendly. I occasionally had disagreements with the administration about curriculum or resources, but nothing serious enough to inspire this kind of revenge. I called my best friend Marcus around 8 o'clock. Marcus taught English at the same high school where I worked. We had known each other for 7 years, ever since we were both hired the same week. If anyone could help me think this through, it was Marcus. I explained the situation, and Marcus listened with the same careful attention he gave to everything. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he suggested I try to contact Nathan directly. He said if I could talk to Nathan and explain that I had been impersonated, maybe Nathan would believe me and help clear my name. The idea made sense, but I had a problem. I did not have Nathan's contact information. I did not even know his last name until Cassidy said it during the confrontation. Nathan Caldwell. I opened LinkedIn on my laptop and typed the name into the search bar. A dozen profiles appeared, but I filtered by location, looking for people in the Portland area. One profile stood out. Nathan Caldwell, Senior Product Manager at a software company called Cloud Scale Technologies. His profile photo showed a man in his early 30s with neat brown hair and a professional smile. He worked in tech, just like Cassidy had always wanted in a partner. I clicked on his profile and studied it. Nathan had an impressive resume. He graduated from Oregon State University with a degree in computer science, worked his way up through several companies, and now held a senior position at a successful startup. His profile showed endorsements from dozens of colleagues and recommendations praising his leadership and technical skills. I crafted a message carefully, rewriting it 5 times before I felt it was right. I explained who I was, that someone had impersonated me on Instagram, that I had never met him and had no reason to interfere with his relationship with my sister. I kept the tone professional and factual, trying to sound reasonable rather than desperate. I hit send and immediately felt anxious. What if Nathan did not believe me? What if he thought this was just another manipulation? I closed my laptop and tried to distract myself by grading student essays, but I could not focus. The words on the page blurred together. I went to bed around midnight, exhausted but unable to sleep. I kept replaying the confrontation with my family, hearing my father's words about my dead-end career and my mother's certainty that I was lying. I thought about Cassidy standing in the driveway on Thanksgiving, humiliated in front of the whole family. Someone had orchestrated all of this. Someone had carefully planned to destroy both my reputation and Cassidy's relationship. The cruelty of it felt overwhelming. I finally fell asleep around 2 in the morning. When I woke up at 7, the first thing I did was check my phone. There was a notification from LinkedIn. Nathan had responded. My heart raced as I opened the message, but as I read his words, my hope crumbled into dust. Nathan's message was hostile and dismissive. He said he knew I was lying because someone who really cared about Cassidy had already reached out to him separately with proof that I had been unstable and jealous for years. He said this person had shown him screenshots of old text messages where I supposedly trash-talked Cassidy to mutual friends. The messages apparently went back months, showing a pattern of resentment and bitterness. Nathan wrote that he had already reported my LinkedIn message as harassment and blocked me. He told me to leave him and Cassidy alone, or he would contact the police. I read the message 3 times, feeling sicker with each pass. This was not just a fake Instagram account anymore. Someone had created an entire false history of me being jealous and unstable. Someone had fabricated text message screenshots going back months. This was systematic and deliberate. Whoever was doing this had thought several steps ahead. They anticipated that I would try to defend myself and had already prepared evidence to counter my claims. They were actively working to destroy my reputation from multiple angles. I sat on the edge of my bed, still holding my phone, and realized something frightening. This person knew me well enough to make their lies believable. They knew about my relationship with Cassidy, about our family dynamics, about how plausible it would be that I resented her success. They had access to or had fabricated evidence from multiple sources. This was not some random person. This was someone connected to my life, or Cassidy's life. Someone with knowledge and motive. But who? The question consumed me over the next 2 days. I called in sick to work on Friday, something I almost never did, because I could not imagine standing in front of a classroom and teaching about the Constitutional Convention while my life was falling apart. I spent those 2 days going through every possibility in my mind, trying to figure out who could be behind this. The person would need to know several things. They would need to know about the Thanksgiving situation and that I had been uninvited. They would need to know enough about my life and personality to make the frame job believable. They would need to have access to information about Cassidy's boyfriend, including how to contact him, and they would need technical skills to create fake social media accounts and forge text message screenshots. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this might not be about me at all. What if someone targeted Cassidy, and I was just collateral damage? What if the real goal was to destroy Cassidy's relationship with Nathan, and framing me was simply the method? That shift in perspective opened up new possibilities. I started thinking about Cassidy's life instead of my own. Who in her circle might want to hurt her? Who might be jealous of her relationship? I needed information, but I could not ask Cassidy directly. She would not talk to me, and anything I said would only make her more convinced of my guilt. Then I remembered my cousin Jordan. Jordan was 26, worked as a graphic designer, and had always been friendly with me. Jordan had been at the Thanksgiving dinner and witnessed everything. Maybe Jordan would be willing to talk. I texted Jordan on Saturday afternoon, keeping my message brief and non-confrontational. I said I knew the family was upset with me, but I was trying to understand what happened. I asked if Jordan would be willing to talk on the phone. 20 minutes passed with no response. I assumed Jordan was going to ignore me. Then my phone rang. Jordan's voice was cautious when I answered. Jordan said that the family had been talking about what I did, and most of them believed I was guilty. But Jordan also said that something about the whole situation felt strange, and Jordan was willing to listen to my side. I explained everything as clearly as I could: the fake account, the timing, the additional fabricated evidence Nathan mentioned. I told Jordan I was trying to figure out who actually did this. Jordan was quiet for a moment, processing. Then Jordan started describing the Thanksgiving dinner in detail. Nathan had arrived with flowers for my mother, which everyone thought was very thoughtful. He seemed polite but uncomfortable, like he was nervous about meeting the extended family. Cassidy was being very performative about their relationship, constantly touching his arm and laughing too loudly at his comments. Jordan remembered thinking it seemed forced. I asked what happened when Nathan checked his phone and saw the messages. Jordan said. Nathan's expression changed completely. He went from politely smiling to looking genuinely disturbed. He excused himself, and Cassidy followed him outside. They were gone for about 10 minutes, while everyone at the table waited awkwardly. When Cassidy came back inside alone, she was crying. She told everyone Nathan had left and the relationship was over. Then Jordan mentioned something that caught my attention. Cassidy's best friend Tara had also been at the dinner. Tara sat very close to Nathan during the meal and was being unusually attentive to him, asking him questions about his job and his interests. Jordan remembered thinking it was a bit much, like Tara was interviewing him. I asked Jordan to describe Tara. Jordan said she was tall, probably 5 feet 9 inches, with dark brown hair that she wore in loose waves. She worked in fashion marketing and was always impeccably dressed. She had known Cassidy since college, and they had been close friends for over 6 years. The name sparked a memory. I remembered meeting Tara a few times at family events. She was beautiful and confident, the kind of person who commanded attention when she entered a room. But I also remembered something else. At a family barbecue about 2 years ago, Tara had cornered me near the drinks table and started flirting. She touched my arm repeatedly, laughed at everything I said, and asked if I wanted to get dinner sometime. I had politely declined, explaining that I did not think it was a good idea to date anyone in Cassidy's social circle. Things could get complicated if the relationship did not work out. Tara had smiled and said she understood, but her eyes had been cold. I remembered feeling uncomfortable and avoiding her for the rest of the barbecue. I asked Jordan if Tara was dating anyone. Jordan said no. Tara had been single for over a year, maybe longer. She dated frequently, but nothing seemed to stick. My mind started making connections. Tara knew about the Thanksgiving situation because she was close to Cassidy. She would have known I was uninvited. She was at the dinner and would have had access to Nathan. She had a history of being interested in men in tech with good jobs, and she might still hold a grudge about me rejecting her 2 years ago. I asked Jordan for Tara's social media information. Jordan gave me her Instagram handle and her last name, Richardson, Tara Richardson. After we hung up, I spent the next 3 hours going through Tara's Instagram account with obsessive attention to detail. Her feed was carefully curated, like Cassidy's, full of professional photos and aspirational content. But I was looking for something specific, any connection to Nathan. I scrolled back through months of posts, studying every photo and caption. Then I found something interesting. About 8 months ago, there were several photos of Tara at tech industry networking events in Portland. The events had professional photographers, and Tara was tagged in dozens of photos with different people. In one photo, she stood next to a man I recognized from his LinkedIn profile, Nathan Caldwell. They were both holding drinks and smiling at the camera. The caption said something generic about making great connections in the Portland tech scene. I clicked on the photo to see who else was tagged. Nathan's Instagram account was linked. I switched over to Nathan's profile and scrolled back to the same time period. He had posted a few photos from the same networking events, but Tara was not prominently featured in any of them. I kept digging, going further back in Tara's feed. 9 months ago, there was a photo that made me stop scrolling. Tara was sitting at a restaurant table with Nathan, just the two of them. The lighting was dim and intimate. The caption read, "Great minds think alike." The location tag said it was at a steakhouse called The Capitol, an upscale place in downtown Portland. I checked Nathan's Instagram from the same date. He had posted a story that day, just a generic photo of a sunset with text that said, "Interesting conversations with interesting people." The timing matched. So Tara and Nathan had some kind of connection before Cassidy started dating him. They had been to networking events together. They had dinner together. Tara had clearly been interested. Then Cassidy entered the picture and started dating Nathan. How would Tara have felt about that? Would she have been jealous that her friend was now dating someone she had been interested in? I kept searching, looking for more evidence. Then, I found something that felt like proof. I went back to the screenshots Cassidy had shown me of the fake Instagram messages. One of the messages to Nathan mentioned a detail about a family vacation to Lake Tahoe 3 years ago. The message described specific incidents from that trip. My father getting drunk and arguing with my mother about money. Cassidy sneaking out of the cabin to meet local guys. Family tensions that supposedly revealed our dysfunction. Here was the critical part. I had never posted anything about that Lake Tahoe trip on social media. I barely used Instagram 3 years ago. But Cassidy had posted extensively about it. I remembered because she had been annoying about it, constantly taking photos and staging shots for her feed. I found Cassidy's posts from that trip. There were over 20 photos of lakes, mountains, family dinners, and sunset shots. And in several of them, there was a tag. Tara Richardson. Tara had been on that family vacation. She was there for the whole week. She would have witnessed any family drama that occurred. She would know details that no one outside the family could know. I felt a surge of certainty. Tara was behind this. She had motive. Jealousy over Nathan and possibly lingering resentment about me rejecting her advances. She had opportunity. She knew about Thanksgiving and had access to Nathan. She had knowledge. She knew our family well enough to make the lies believable. But I still needed concrete proof. I could not go to my family with just theories and circumstantial evidence. They already thought I was lying and manipulative. If I accused Tara without solid proof, they would see it as me trying to shift blame. I needed something definitive. Emily came over to my apartment on Sunday afternoon. She had finished her shift at the hospital and came straight from work, still wearing her scrubs. I had texted her about my suspicions regarding Tara, and she wanted to help strategize. We sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open between us, going through all the evidence I had gathered. Emily studied the Instagram posts, the timeline, the photos of Tara and Nathan together. She agreed that Tara was the most likely suspect, but she also agreed we needed more proof. Emily suggested we focus on connecting the fake Instagram account directly to Tara. The account itself was the smoking gun. If we could prove Tara created it, everything else would fall into place. I thought about the former student I had taught 3 years ago, Tyler Bennett. Tyler had gone on to study computer science at Portland State University, and I had written him a strong recommendation letter that helped him get a scholarship. We still kept in touch occasionally. Tyler was brilliant with computers and technology. Maybe he could help. I sent Tyler a text explaining that I had a problem and needed technical help. Tyler responded within minutes, saying he had a break between study sessions and could talk. I called him and explained the situation. Someone had impersonated me on Instagram, sent damaging messages, and I was trying to prove who really created the account. Tyler said he would help. He asked me to send him all the screenshots I had saved from the fake account. I emailed them over immediately. Tyler called me back an hour later. He explained that he had been looking at the metadata and technical details visible in the screenshots. In one of the images, there was a brief moment where you could see part of an email address associated with the account. The format was DTH story at a generic email provider. Tyler said he had done some additional research using methods I did not entirely understand. Something about looking at patterns in the image files and timestamps. He said he could not be completely certain without more access, but he believed the account had been created from a public location, likely a coffee shop or library, based on the IP address information he could infer from the technical details. Tyler mentioned there was a coffee shop in downtown Portland where a lot of people worked on their laptops. It was trendy and popular, the kind of place someone might go to do something they did not want traced back to their home network. The coffee shop was called Brew and Bloom, and it was only 6 blocks from where Cassidy and Tara both worked. Emily and I looked at each other. This was something concrete we could investigate. The next morning, Monday, I called in sick to work again. I felt guilty about missing more teaching days, but this felt more important. My entire life was under attack. My family relationships were destroyed. My reputation was being systematically ruined. I needed to fix this before it got worse. Emily had the day off from her nursing schedule, so we drove downtown together. Brew and Bloom was exactly the kind of place I expected. Exposed brick walls, Edison bulb lighting, minimalist wooden furniture, and the constant hum of espresso machines. Young professionals hunched over laptops at every table, and the air smelled like coffee and baked goods. We approached the counter. The barista was a young woman with short purple hair and multiple ear piercings. Her name tag said Sophia. I ordered 2 coffees and tried to figure out how to ask what I needed to ask without sounding like a stalker. While Sophia made our drinks, I pulled out my phone and found photos of both Cassidy and Tara from Instagram. When Sophia handed me the coffees, I asked if she had a moment to answer a quick question. I explained that I was trying to find someone who might have been a regular customer. Sophia looked skeptical, but I showed her the photos. Her expression changed when she saw Tara's picture. She nodded immediately. She said that woman was absolutely a regular. She came in at least 3 or 4 times a week, always sat at the corner table near the window, and usually spent hours on her laptop. I felt my pulse quicken. This was it. This was the connection. I asked Sophia if she remembered seeing Tara there about 2 weeks ago. Sophia thought for a moment, then nodded again. She said she remembered that specific day because it was also Sophia's birthday and they had been short-staffed. One of the other baristas had called in sick, so Sophia had been running around all day, stressed and exhausted. Sophia said she specifically remembered Tara being there that day because Tara had left her planner at the coffee shop when she finally packed up to leave. Sophia had to run after her down the sidewalk with it. Tara had seemed flustered and nervous when Sophia caught up with her, very different from her usual composed demeanor. Tara thanked her quickly and left in a hurry. I asked if there were any security cameras that might have footage from that day. Sophia said there were cameras, but the owner only kept the footage for 1 week before it recorded over itself. That footage would be long gone by now. Still, Sophia's testimony was valuable. She could confirm Tara was at the coffee shop on the day the account was created, acting nervous and unusual. It was not proof by itself, but it was another piece of the puzzle. Emily and I sat down at a table to drink our coffees and figure out next steps. We needed something more definitive. We needed Tara to somehow reveal herself or confess. But how could we make that happen? Then my phone rang. The screen showed an unknown number. I almost did not answer, assuming it was a spam call. But something made me pick up. A man's voice said, "Is this Darwin?" I confirmed it was. The voice said, "This is Nathan Caldwell. I think we need to talk." I nearly dropped my phone. Nathan was calling me. After blocking me on LinkedIn and threatening to call the police, Nathan was now reaching out voluntarily. Nathan's tone was different from his hostile message. He sounded uncertain, even apologetic. He said his friend who worked in tech security had looked at the Instagram messages he received and said something seemed off about them. His friend said it looked like the messages might have been sent using a spoofing technique or some kind of automation that made them appear to come from my account when they really did not. Nathan said he had been thinking about the situation for the past few days. Some things did not add up. I had never met him. I had no reason to care about his relationship with Cassidy, and the messages themselves seemed designed to create maximum damage, which felt more like someone trying to break them up than someone genuinely warning him about a dysfunctional family. Nathan also mentioned that Tara had reached out to him the day after he broke up with Cassidy. She sent him a long message saying she was sorry about what happened and offering to get coffee to talk about it. She said she had always thought Nathan was impressive and she understood how difficult it must be to deal with such a complicated situation. Nathan said he had declined the coffee invitation because it felt inappropriate so soon after breaking up with Cassidy. But looking back, the timing seemed strange. Why would Cassidy's best friend be reaching out to him so quickly? Why would she be complimenting him and trying to spend time alone with him? I told Nathan I was sitting in a coffee shop with my girlfriend and asked if he would be willing to meet in person. I said I had information he needed to see. Nathan agreed. He said he could meet us in an hour at a diner on the outskirts of Portland, a place called Rosie's that was neutral territory for everyone. Emily and I finished our coffees and drove to Rosie's. We got there early and chose a booth near the back where we could talk privately. My hands were shaking as I organized all my evidence on my phone, making sure I could show Nathan everything clearly. Nathan arrived exactly on time. He was taller than I expected from his photos, probably 6 feet 1 inch, wearing business casual clothes like he had come straight from work. He slid into the booth across from us and ordered coffee from the waitress, who appeared immediately. I introduced Emily and then launched into my explanation. I showed Nathan the evidence methodically. The 2 Instagram accounts with identical names. The timeline showing the fake account was created the day I was uninvited from Thanksgiving. Tara's social media history showing her connection to Nathan months before he met Cassidy, the photo of them having dinner together 9 months ago. The fact that Tara was on the Lake Tahoe vacation and would know details no outsider could know. Nathan examined everything carefully, his expression growing more troubled with each piece of evidence. He pulled out his own phone and showed me the messages Tara had sent him after the breakup. They were overly friendly and slightly flirtatious, praising his intelligence and career success while subtly putting Cassidy down by saying things like, "I know Cassidy can be a lot sometimes. You probably need someone more grounded to talk to." Nathan admitted something that made the picture even clearer. He said Tara had been messaging him for weeks before he met Cassidy. She found him on LinkedIn after they met at a networking event and started sending messages about industry trends and job opportunities. Nathan thought she was just being friendly and professional, networking the way people in tech do. He never thought she was interested romantically because she never explicitly said so. When he started dating Cassidy, Tara's messages became less frequent but never stopped completely. She would occasionally send articles or comment on his LinkedIn posts. Nathan said he never mentioned this to Cassidy because it seemed innocent. But now, looking at all the evidence together, Nathan could see a pattern. Tara had been interested in him first. When he started dating her best friend instead, Tara did not back off. She stayed close, waiting for an opportunity. I told Nathan about Tara being at the Thanksgiving dinner, sitting close to him, being attentive. I explained my theory. Tara created the fake account and sent those messages to destroy his relationship with Cassidy. She framed me because I was a convenient scapegoat, and maybe because she still resented me for rejecting her 2 years ago. Nathan set down his coffee cup and looked at me directly. He apologized for his hostile message on LinkedIn. He said he should have been more skeptical of the additional evidence that was sent to him. Those fake text messages supposedly showing me trash-talking Cassidy. He asked who sent him those screenshots. Nathan pulled up the messages on his phone. They had come from an anonymous email account the day after the Instagram messages, supposedly from a mutual friend of the family who was concerned. The email address was something generic. concerned_friend at a free email provider. Everything was anonymous. Everything was designed to avoid being traced back to the real source. I asked Nathan if he would be willing to help me expose the truth. I explained that my family would not believe me without concrete proof. I needed Tara to confess or reveal herself somehow. Nathan was quiet for a long moment. He said he did not want more drama. He was tired of the whole situation, but then he looked at me and said something that gave me hope. What Tara did was wrong. If she really did this, she destroyed my relationship with Cassidy and ruined your relationship with your family. That is not okay. People should not be able to get away with that kind of manipulation. Emily leaned forward and suggested we needed to catch Tara in the act of confessing. She said Nathan could reach out to Tara and say he was reconsidering everything, that he wanted to hear her perspective on the family situation. If they met for coffee and Nathan could get Tara to admit what she did, that would be proof. Nathan pointed out that recording someone without their knowledge might not be legal. Emily said she had researched this, and Oregon was a one-party consent state for recordings. That meant Nathan could legally record a conversation he was part of without telling the other person. I looked at Nathan and asked if he would be willing to do this. It was a big ask. He would have to pretend to be interested in Tara's version of events, lead her into revealing what she did, all while secretly recording. Nathan thought about it, drumming his fingers on the table. Finally, he nodded. He said he would do it. Not for Cassidy, because that relationship was over regardless, but because what Tara did was cruel and manipulative, and someone needed to hold her accountable. We spent the next hour planning exactly what Nathan would say and how he would approach it. 3 days later, on Thursday afternoon, the plan went into action. Nathan texted Tara, saying he had been thinking about everything that happened and wanted to hear her perspective. He said he felt like maybe he had reacted too quickly at Thanksgiving and wondered if she would meet him for coffee to talk. Tara responded within 5 minutes. She said she would absolutely meet with him, that she had been hoping he would reach out. She suggested a coffee shop downtown, a different one from Brew and Bloom, and they agreed to meet at 2 o'clock. Emily and I waited in her car half a block away from the coffee shop. Nathan had his phone in his shirt pocket, recording everything. We had tested it earlier to make sure the audio was clear. Emily had even bought him a button-down shirt with a pocket in the right position because Nathan's usual work clothes did not have one. Nathan texted us when he arrived. Then again when Tara walked in. Then the waiting began. 90 minutes passed. Emily and I sat in the car, barely talking, both of us anxious about what was happening inside. Cars drove by. People walked past. The gray Portland sky threatened rain, but never quite delivered. Finally, at 3:35, Nathan emerged from the coffee shop. His face looked pale and shaken. He walked quickly to Emily's car and got in the back seat. For a moment, he just sat there, staring at his hands. Then he pulled his phone out of his pocket and held it up. The recording app showed 92 minutes of captured audio. Nathan said, "You were right about everything." She confessed to all of it. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Nathan opened the recording and started playing it. He skipped ahead to the important parts, giving us timestamps for everything we needed to hear. Tara's voice came through clearly. She sounded friendly and warm at first, thanking Nathan for reaching out. She said she knew Cassidy could be difficult and she was glad Nathan was being thoughtful about the situation instead of just accepting everything at face value. Nathan had asked her what she thought about the messages he received from Darwin's account. There was a pause on the recording, and then Tara's voice took on a different quality. She said she had to be honest with him. She was not surprised that Darwin had reached out to him with those warnings. Nathan asked why. Tara said Darwin had always been unstable, jealous of Cassidy's success, resentful of the family's focus on his sister. She said she had witnessed it for years. She said Darwin probably could not stand seeing Cassidy happy with someone like Nathan. Nathan pushed further. He said the messages seemed very specific, very detailed. He asked how Darwin would have known those things about the family. That was when Tara made her first mistake. She said, "Well, anyone who has spent time with that family knows how dysfunctional they are. I have been on vacations with them. I have seen the fighting. I know what goes on behind closed doors." Nathan asked if she thought Darwin's warnings were accurate. Were the family really as problematic as the messages suggested? Tara's answer was careful, but revealing. She said some parts might have been exaggerated. She said families like that have a way of hiding their problems behind a nice facade, but people who really know them can see through it. Then, Nathan did exactly what we had planned. He said, "I feel bad about how things ended with Cassidy. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I should reach out to her and try to work things out." Tara's response on the recording was immediate and sharp. She said that would be a mistake. She said Nathan deserved better than someone as shallow and image-obsessed as Cassidy. Her voice got more intense as she continued. She said Cassidy had never appreciated what she had, that Cassidy was always more interested in how a relationship looked on social media than the actual connection between two people. Nathan asked, "But she is your best friend, right? Why are you talking about her this way?" The silence that followed lasted at least 10 seconds. Then Tara's voice came back, softer and more calculated. She said that real friendship meant being honest. She said she cared about Nathan and did not want to see him waste his time on someone who was not right for him. Nathan let another silence develop. I could hear coffee shop sounds in the background, the hiss of steam, the murmur of other conversations, someone laughing at another table. Then Nathan said, "Tara, I need to ask you something directly. Did you send those messages from Darwin's Instagram account?" The recording captured a sharp intake of breath. Then Tara laughed, but it sounded forced. She said that was a crazy accusation. Why would Nathan think that? Nathan's voice stayed calm and measured. He said his friend in tech security had analyzed the messages and said they showed signs of being sent through a spoofing service. He said the timing was suspicious. He said Tara had been very quick to reach out after the breakup. He said all the evidence pointed to someone who wanted to destroy his relationship with Cassidy and was close enough to the family to know specific details. Another long silence. Then Tara asked, "What did your friend tell you exactly?" Nathan said enough to know the messages did not really come from Darwin. He said he had talked to Darwin and seen proof of the fake account. He asked Tara again, "Did you do this?" What came next was the confession we needed. Tara's voice changed completely, becoming defensive and emotional. She said she did it for Nathan's sake. She said he deserved better than someone as shallow as Cassidy. She said Cassidy's whole family was toxic and image-obsessed, and Nathan was too good for them. She admitted she created the fake Instagram account because she wanted to save Nathan from making a mistake. She said she used a computer at Brew and Bloom because she knew they had free Wi-Fi and lots of traffic. She said she based the messages on things she knew about the family from years of friendship with Cassidy. Nathan asked about the fake text messages that were sent to him, the ones supposedly showing Darwin trash-talking Cassidy to mutual friends. Tara admitted she created those too using photo editing software. She said it was easier than she expected, that there were tutorials online for how to fake text message screenshots. Nathan asked why she involved Darwin specifically. Why frame him instead of just sending anonymous warnings? Tara's answer revealed the final piece. She said she killed two birds with one stone. She had always resented Darwin because years ago, at some family event, he had rejected her when she tried to start something with him. He had said he did not want to date anyone in Cassidy's social circle, which Tara interpreted as him thinking he was too good for her. She had never forgotten that rejection, how small it made her feel. By framing Darwin, she destroyed Cassidy's relationship with Nathan and got revenge on Darwin for embarrassing her. She sounded almost proud of herself as she explained this, like it was a clever solution to multiple problems. Then Nathan's voice on the recording became harder, colder. He said, "What you did was cruel and probably illegal. I want nothing to do with you." Tara's tone immediately shifted to panic. She said she did it because she cared about him. She said she had been interested in him first, before Cassidy even met him. She said they had chemistry at those networking events. She had been hoping he would ask her out, and then suddenly Cassidy swooped in and claimed him like he was a prize. Nathan said that did not give her the right to manipulate people and destroy relationships. He said he was leaving and did not want to hear from her again. The recording captured the sound of a chair scraping, footsteps, and then just coffee shop ambient noise as Nathan walked out. Nathan stopped the recording and looked at both of us. He said Tara had tried to follow him out to the street, but he walked away quickly and got in his car. She sent him 3 text messages in the past hour, alternating between apologizing and trying to justify what she did. He showed us the messages. They were desperate and rambling. Emily and I looked at each other. We had everything we needed. A full confession on a clear recording. Evidence of premeditation and deliberate manipulation. Proof that I was innocent. I asked Nathan if he was willing to take this to my family. Nathan nodded. He said he felt responsible for how this played out. If he had been more skeptical of those initial messages, none of this would have escalated the way it did. The 3 of us drove directly to my parents' house in Emily's car. It was almost 5 o'clock on a Thursday evening. Both my parents would be home from work, and there was a good chance Cassidy would be there too, since she often stopped by after work. When we pulled up in front of my childhood home, I felt a wave of anxiety. The house looked exactly the same as always, a 2-story colonial with blue shutters and a well-maintained lawn. My father's car was in the driveway. Through the front window, I could see lights on in the living room. Nathan got out of the car first. I followed, and Emily stayed close beside me. We walked up the front path together, and I rang the doorbell. My father answered. His expression went from confusion at seeing Nathan to hostility when he saw me behind him. He started to close the door, but Nathan spoke quickly. He said he needed to speak with the whole family, that it was important, that he had information about what really happened. Something in Nathan's tone must have convinced my father, because he stepped back and let us in. He called for my mother and Cassidy. Both of them appeared from the kitchen, and when they saw me, their faces showed the same mixture of anger and hurt. My mother demanded to know what was going on. Why was I here after everything I had done? Nathan stepped forward and introduced himself formally, even though he had already met everyone at Thanksgiving. He said he needed to play them a recording, and he needed them to listen to the entire thing before reacting. Cassidy started to protest, but Nathan held up his phone and said, "Please, just listen. If you still think Darwin is guilty after you hear this, I will leave and never contact any of you again." The room fell silent. Nathan played the recording. We all stood in the living room while Tara's voice filled the space. My parents sat down on the couch, their expressions shifting from skepticism to confusion to horror as the confession unfolded. Cassidy remained standing, her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face as she heard her best friend admit to destroying her relationship and framing her brother. When the recording ended, the silence was absolute. No one moved. No one spoke. The only sound was Cassidy crying quietly. Nathan addressed them directly. He said he owed me an apology for believing the fake messages without questioning them more carefully. He said he had been skeptical of his relationship with Cassidy anyway because it felt performative rather than genuine, but that did not excuse him accepting lies at face value. Then, Nathan said something that surprised me. He told Cassidy that their relationship would not have worked, regardless of Tara's interference. He said Cassidy seemed more interested in how he looked on paper than who he actually was. He said she constantly posted about their relationship on social media but rarely asked him genuine questions about his thoughts or feelings. He said it felt like he was an accessory to her image rather than a partner. Cassidy flinched at his words but did not argue. She just nodded slightly, accepting the truth of what he said. Nathan told my parents that their son was clearly a good man who did not deserve any of this. He said I had handled the situation with remarkable restraint and had worked hard to find the truth instead of just accepting being accused. Then Nathan shook my hand, nodded politely to my parents, and left. The four of us stood in the living room. Me, Emily, my mother, my father, and Cassidy. The weight of everything that had happened pressed down on us. My mother broke the silence. She stood up from the couch and walked toward me, her face crumbling. She said she was sorry, that she had failed me completely as a mother. She said she was so focused on Cassidy's happiness, so worried about her finding the right partner and building the right life, that she had completely dismissed me and my worth. She admitted she had always put too much pressure on Cassidy to be perfect and successful, and in doing so, she had inadvertently made me feel like I was less valuable because I chose a different path. She said my career as a teacher was not a dead-end job. It was honorable and important, and she should have been proud of me all along. My father stepped forward, too. He said he was ashamed of how quickly he believed I could do something so cruel. He said he should have known my character better than that. He admitted that he and my mother had created an environment where image mattered more than substance, where appearance was prioritized over integrity. Cassidy finally spoke, her voice thick with tears. She apologized for asking them to uninvite me from Thanksgiving. She said she had been so obsessed with making a good impression on Nathan, so focused on presenting a perfect image, that she had treated her own brother like an embarrassment. She said Tara had been whispering in her ear for weeks, subtly criticizing me and our family, planting seeds of insecurity and doubt. Cassidy admitted she had built her whole identity around being successful and enviable. She dated men based on their job titles and income. She posted constantly on social media because she needed validation from strangers. She had lost sight of what actually mattered. She said she was sorry for believing I could sabotage her relationship. She said she knew in her heart that I would never do something like that. But she had been so hurt and humiliated by Nathan breaking up with her in front of the whole family that she needed someone to blame. Blaming me was easier than facing her own insecurities. I stood there, listening to all of them apologize, feeling a complicated mixture of relief and lingering hurt. Part of me wanted to yell at them, to tell them how much pain they had caused me, but another part of me understood that they were genuinely remorseful, that they were recognizing their mistakes. I told them I forgave them, but things needed to change. I said I would not accept being treated as lesser anymore because I chose a career in education instead of something more lucrative. I said I needed them to respect my choices and value me for who I am, not who they want me to be. My parents agreed immediately. My mother suggested we start family therapy to work through all of this. My father said he wanted to understand better how to support me and show me that he respected my career. I asked what they planned to do about Tara. Cassidy said she had already blocked Tara on all social media and deleted her number. She said the friendship was over, that she could never trust Tara again after this betrayal. My father said he had consulted with a lawyer friend that afternoon after Nathan called to arrange this meeting. The lawyer said we could potentially pursue criminal charges for things like harassment, fraud, or identity theft. But the lawyer also warned that it would be difficult to prove damages and the legal process would be stressful and expensive. I thought about it for a moment. Part of me wanted Tara to face legal consequences for what she did, but another part of me just wanted to move forward and rebuild my life. I said I did not want to pursue charges unless Tara tried to do something else harmful. I just wanted her out of all our lives. My family agreed with that decision. Emily, who had been standing quietly beside me through all of this, squeezed my hand. My mother noticed and asked who Emily was. I introduced her properly as my girlfriend, explaining that she had been incredibly supportive through this whole nightmare. My mother invited us both to stay for dinner. It was getting late and she wanted to cook something for everyone. I almost declined out of habit, but Emily encouraged me to stay. She said this was a chance to start rebuilding, so we stayed. My mother cooked pasta, while my father set the table. Cassidy and I sat in the living room and talked more honestly than we had in years. She asked me about my teaching, about my students, about what I loved about the job. I asked her about her marketing work and what she actually wanted out of life beyond just appearing successful. During dinner, the conversation was sometimes awkward, but mostly genuine. My father asked me about my lesson plans and seemed genuinely interested in how I approached teaching history to teenagers. My mother asked Emily about her work as a nurse and thanked her for supporting me through this situation. It was not perfect. Years of dysfunctional patterns do not disappear in one evening, but it was a start. 2 months passed. It was now late January. A Saturday afternoon cold enough that frost still clung to windows, even at 2 o'clock. I was hosting a small dinner party at my apartment. Emily, Marcus, my cousin Jordan, and my parents. The atmosphere felt warm and genuine, in a way family gatherings had not felt in years. My mother was in my small kitchen, helping me prepare roasted chicken and vegetables. She told me she was proud of the man I had become, proud that I had stood up for myself and fought for the truth. My father sat at my second-hand dining table, asking me detailed questions about my students. He wanted to know about their backgrounds, their challenges, what I thought made a good teacher. He listened with real attention instead of just waiting for his turn to talk. Jordan was telling Emily and Marcus a funny story about a design project gone wrong. Laughter filled the apartment. Cassidy was not there. She had sent me a heartfelt letter 2 weeks after everything happened. In it, she apologized again and said she needed time to work on herself. She had started individual therapy and was taking a break from dating. She said she was learning to value herself beyond her image and accomplishments. She said she hoped we could rebuild our relationship slowly over time. I kept her letter on my refrigerator, held in place with a magnet shaped like the state of Oregon. I read it sometimes when I needed a reminder that people can change and grow. As we sat down to eat, I looked around at the people gathered in my small apartment. These were the people who truly valued me. My parents were learning to see me differently. Emily loved me for exactly who I was. Marcus had been a loyal friend for years. Jordan had been willing to listen when no one else would. My father raised his glass of water and proposed a toast. He said he wanted to acknowledge that he and my mother had made serious mistakes, but they were grateful for the chance to do better. He said they were proud to be my parents. We all raised our glasses. After dinner, as we were clearing plates, my mother asked me about a student I had mentioned who was struggling with American history. She wanted to know if there was anything she could do to help. Maybe donate some books or supplies to my classroom. The offer touched me because it showed she was genuinely interested in supporting my work. I realized something important as I stood in my kitchen washing dishes with Emily drying beside me. Being uninvited from Thanksgiving had been devastating in the moment, but it forced a reckoning that needed to happen. It exposed the dysfunction in my family's values and gave us a chance to rebuild on a healthier foundation. I had learned something profound through this experience. True worth is not measured by job titles, income, or social status. The people who truly love you will value your character, integrity, and heart above all else. Standing up for yourself is not about revenge or proving others wrong. It is about maintaining your dignity and demanding the respect you deserve. Sometimes the people who should know your worth best are the ones who lose sight of it. But that says more about their values than yours. When they believe lies about you without question, when they prioritize image over substance, when they make you feel less than, those are their failures, not yours. I learned that quiet confidence and moral integrity will always win over image and appearances. It might take time. The truth might have to fight its way to the surface. But eventually, character reveals itself. Most importantly, I discovered that real family is not about perfection or performance. It is about people who see your true value, even when they have temporarily lost their way. It is about being willing to do the hard work of growth and change. It is about choosing substance over surface. Being uninvited from Thanksgiving turned out to be an invitation to reclaim my self-respect. As Emily and I said goodbye to everyone that evening, as my parents hugged me with real warmth and my mother promised to visit my classroom soon, I felt something I had not felt in years. I felt genuinely valued by my family. The road ahead would not be perfect. Old habits and patterns would resurface sometimes, but we were all committed to doing better, to building something healthier and more authentic. And that was enough. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where your family or friends believed lies about you instead of trusting your character? How did you handle it? Did you fight to prove your innocence? Or did you walk away? Share your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and your experiences help others feel less alone. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories and reminds us all that we are not alone in facing family challenges and betrayal. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already so you do not miss future stories about overcoming injustice and reclaiming your dignity. And please share this video with anyone who might need to hear that their worth is not determined by other people's opinions. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for taking the time to understand what I went through and for being part of this community where we support each other through difficult experiences. I hope this story reminded you that truth has a way of emerging, that standing up for yourself is always worth it, and that your character defines you more than any lie ever could. Take care of yourselves, value the people who truly see you, and never forget that your worth is inherent. You do not need to prove it to anyone who refuses to see it.